So, I saw this Reddit post a while back that demonstrated how the Zealot ability Chastise the Wicked can absolutely shred armoured enemies due to armour piercing. This felt like a great mechanic to dive into and figure out. If you read the ability description, it doesn't mention anything about ranged weapons or armour piercing at all, and I think I find the wording just confusing in general. Firstly, I decided to check how Chastise the Wicked affects melee damage. I have another video further breaking down the Zealot ability with melee weapons. You can find a link on screen now or in the video description below. I will quickly add that I think the damage values in this game have some rounding errors, so some of the units in this video will be 1 digit off. The important information that you need to know is how the Zealot Preacher ability gives you armor piercing. If you look at the damage breakdown, what happens is the damage that you deal moves row to the next weakest armor type. Whilst Chastise the Wicked is active, hitting Carapace armor deals the damage from the Flak armor row, and hitting Flak armor deals damage from the Unarmoured row. Well, the same armor piercing rules apply to guns too. Taking my Autogun here against the Mauler's Carapace armor, it's not very effective at all. And then with Chastise the Wicked active. As you can see, we're getting the damage numbers from the Flak armor row now. This armor piercing effect occurs for the entire duration of the ability, not just your next attack, so you do get a significant buff against armored enemies. Swinging your melee weapon will cancel the ability, so keeping your gun out gives you much more time to pierce armor. So yes, as the Reddit post states, Chastise the Wicked does apply armor piercing to your guns. However, you do not get the 25% damage buff, nor do they get the guaranteed critical hits that Chastise the Wicked offers. You do still, however, get a chance to roll random crits. Now, the ability doesn't give you any advantage over unarmoured enemies. There's just no armor to pierce, so you get nothing from the buff. Some weapons do get more out of this feature than others. If you take the revolver, which already has massive damage against Carapace armor, you get maybe about double damage out of armor piercing, which is still really strong. But there are many guns that do next to no damage to Carapace armor without a crit, so armor piercing can increase the damage, in some cases 40-fold. Now, I was thrown off by this Lasgun. Hitting Carapace weak spot is not giving me the Flak armor damage, it's actually giving me the body crit damage. But then a critical hit gives me the crit weak spot damage plus 25%, so I don't know what's going on there. The same gun follows all the rules as usual when hitting the Flak body. If you were paying attention earlier, you may have noticed that the revolver was actually dealing unyielding damage, which I'm not quite sure where that fits in the armor hierarchy. It was the first weapon I've seen deal that kind of damage against a Mauler, so there have been some anomalies in my findings, but I do feel that it's 90% of the weapons that are going from Carapace armor to Flak armor. I did play around on my veteran for a little while, just to compare Chastise the Wicked against the Sharpshooter ability Volley fire. 50% damage just doesn't feel so strong anymore. I suppose this buff still applies to unarmoured damage, and the cooldown is shorter. Whilst I was on my veteran, I did find something interesting with fast firing weapons and also critical hits. With this Recon Lasgun, when firing from hip, it fires a minimum of a 3-shot burst, so you cannot tap fire with it. I do have another video going into odd gun mechanics like that. I'd appreciate the support if you go and check out that video as well. What was really interesting is that they seem to crit in bursts too. Rather than rolling a random crit every single bullet, it seems to have a time frame where you do crit. It seems to crit multiple times in a row every single time. It doesn't feel like it's a limited amount of bullets, but a time frame. I did also find it interesting how this gun cannot do damage to Carapace armor without a critical hit. You know, the Sharpshooter's volley fire giving 50% extra damage means nothing when the damage is 0. Another massive advantage that the Zealot gets due to armor piercing. I do hope you found this video useful. My theories don't feel 100% consistent, but I feel like it's close enough to understand what armor piercing is doing and why it's so powerful. What's your thoughts on Zealots getting this extra armor piercing power? Let me know in the comments.